Good morning, traders. This is Wilkey with StartupTrading.com. It is 8:43 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, August 11, 2020. So just real quick with scheduled news, we have PPI this morning at 8:30. No big deal. Tonight at 2 o'clock a.m., just to pay attention, you've got the Great Britain preliminary GDP. This could actually be a little bit of a mover in the overnight session. We'll see how it goes and whether it's in line or out of line, either at the upside or the downside. But that's probably your biggest event before the 8:30 CPI for the U.S. tomorrow morning, then crude tomorrow, retail sales on Friday. So we've done our public service announcement for scheduled news. So now let's look at the 1 year to date. So 33.9375 is our all-time high in the ES. We are basically 21 points away from that right now for the bell session. And as we look at, closer to where these nodes are, we can see basically we have 33.51 from yesterday, 33.72, which we should tag, and that goes back all the way to February 20th. So that was the, pre-breakdown. And then above that, we have 33.90. So those are the two areas of interest for the high volume nodes that are left on the longer term charts. Looking at the session overnight so far, 31.5 points, and we have continued to come, just melt up. It's just been a bid for the last 2 weeks now, pretty much. So as we look at the level fours, 34.09 quarter down to 32.96 quarter. And as far as what I think there's a slim to none chance of taking out yesterday's low at 33.29. So getting under that, should have continuation down to S3, S4 if for some reason that were to happen later today. And then I think we would get continuation to the downside tomorrow as well. So being, just looking at status quo and moving back up to the upside, the most likely range is going to be between basically value area high at 33.55 up until 33.92. So that should be your range of play today, and really what I'm looking to participate in that range today. That's your money range, to be honest with you. So looking at all the indexes overnight, you got the NASDAQ, of course, a little bit weaker. You've got the other three indices above the previous day's high and continuing up, and just continuing to fade the NASDAQ. Value area low for the NASDAQ is basically at 11,000. And then getting below yesterday's low for the NASDAQ, we'll have to see how the other markets would react to that. But I think as we look at some of the longer term levels that I look at, we're probably closer to the potential low of the day than we are getting anything else. So I wouldn't necessarily looking to get much more out of any shorts in the NASDAQ than what we're at right now until it can prove it can get below value area low. So looking at that NASDAQ as I talked, so 10,940 is really where I look next, but you can see that we had some breaks. I'm going to go ahead and put a dotted line on the charts here. We had a small amount of support here, and then resistance that turned into support, and that's going to come in basically right at 10,995, which we're, very close to right now. So we'll see if we get any support there. If not, I'm going to go ahead and change the markings on this line. This 10,940 is more of a dominant support resistance line for the NASDAQ. But I have a feeling that you're about at, lows for at least a little bit right now. And we'll see if it can get through. Getting under the 10,940, however, if it does, I have really nothing all the way down to 10,748, just so you know. Looking at the Dow next, and the Dow is really getting its comeuppance finally, right? It's finally doing something. And I talked yesterday above 27,462. I didn't have any significant resistance until we hit 28,150. I didn't think 24 hours later when I was speaking to you we'd be so close to 28,150, but this is potentially an area that the Dow could just bounce around in for a while, and I can see it bouncing all the way back down to 27,700 as a range. So basically from 27,700 up to 28,150. I can see it backing and filling and playing in that range a little bit this week. If we get continuation above 28,150, I don't have anything on the chart until 29,014. So that's a big area. I just don't see it, surpassing this 28,150 and screaming up to 29,014 this week. I can see some, back and forth around this 28,150, maybe back down to, like I said, that 27,700 later this week. Looking at the Russell now. So the Russell is holding this 1582.30 is more of a hard line in the sand for me for the Russell. So as long as it can stay above that, it can really churn through these levels, all the way up to 1623.50. And these would be, if I was drawing these lines now, these would all be dotted out except for the 1623.50. So I'm not going to go, these are like little support resistance bands. So basically 1602.20 and then 1615, 1623.50 is what I'm looking at right now. And that's all against 1582.30. So looking back at the indices and really, making a plan, we just tagged under this value area low. We got down to that, basically under it to that 86 quarter. We're back up above 11,000 now. That's potentially as low as we're getting out of the NASDAQ today. So I wouldn't be chasing it to the downside unless you start seeing these other ones roll over and you want to see some bars print below value area low. And then you might get some continuation, a little bit of sell-off. But remember, the ES is likely to only get down to 33.55 today. That's probably the best shot at taking a long, if you're not already in something, would be down around that location. And it could, trade back up to the overnight high, and if it beats that, it should get up right around to this 33.90. I would go 88, 89, right in that level of support for that. Getting under the 55s, right, we could go back down to, I would say, value area lows where I'd look for the next stop. And then, then the previous day's low after that. But I still think we're just burning and churning up here. And don't get too excited with the NASDAQ losing steam, because it's unlikely really to get any traction under what it's already printed. You're probably at the lows of the session for it right now. I hope this helps you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.